Uh, Hello everyone, Al Keldra the SideQuest Gamer here, and for my 99th review, I have a special treat for all of you. I just know how much you all love it when I review a frustrating game like Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels. This isn't for me, this is for all of you because I love all of you so much and I'm willing to experience frustration just for all of you. I hope you enjoy this review because I have quite a lot to say about this game. Now, the following criticisms only apply to this specific version of the game. A few of the notable problems have since been fixed somewhat in the Super Mario Bros. Deluxe and Super Mario All-Stars versions, but this game is still being sold on the eShop for $6, so it's most definitely worth criticizing if it's not doing something right. This is by far one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever played that Nintendo has made themselves. Developed by Nintendo R&D 4 and published in 1986 for the Nintendo Famicom disk system in Japan only, Miyamoto couldn't focus entirely on this project during development since he was working on The Legend of Zelda. He relied on assistant director Takashi Tezuka and the rest of the R&D 4 team to make this direct sequel. I mean, Super Mario Bros. Not only sold millions of copies, it sold millions of Nintendo Entertainment Systems and Nintendo Famicoms. But this game is hard for a reason. Tezuka claimed that this game was made for those who mastered the original game, so it's not intended to be anyone's starting point in the series. Heck, that was the marketing campaign.
スーパーマリオブラザーズ2はさすがディスクで面白い。下手くそ。
Well, I'll give Nintendo credit where credit is due. At least the marketing is brutally honest. At least customers know what they're getting into. But I feel like the box art is just missing one little thing. Hold on. There. That's much better, although it sounds very familiar. This game was apparently so hard that Howard Phillips, the president of Nintendo of America at the time, wouldn't let this game get localized because he felt it was too hard and it wouldn't sell that well in America. Yet Nintendo of America thought it was okay to localize the harder version of Battletoads to North America in the early 90s. It got the Nintendo seal of approval and everything. And yet they didn't localize Super Mario Bros. 2, the real one. I just don't understand your logic, Nintendo of America. I don't understand your logic back then, and I certainly don't understand your logic now. With America not seeing this sequel until re-releases, Nintendo at least had the heart to give us a reskinned Doki Doki Panic, which I reviewed in the last episode. Go check that out, by the way. Americans wouldn't see the original version until the re-release for the Wii Virtual Console in 2007, with the exception of those who either had that game and a Famicom imported, or the PC gamers who sailed the 7 seas to play it, if you know what I mean. And this game sure marketed itself correctly. Yes, I acknowledge that this game is supposed to be hard, and it was advertised as such, but like I said in past videos, I don't mind a hard game if it's hard for the right reasons. I love Super C for the NES, because even though it's hard, it gives you enough time to dodge enemy projectiles in milliseconds. But Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels is not hard for the right reasons. For one, progression is sometimes reliant on trial and error. The game doesn't always work with a given control scheme, and you have to be knowledgeable on the locations of hidden blocks and warp pipes if you hope to even pass a level, and the worst offense this game has is bad enemy placement, in addition to more aggressive attack patterns. Yes, remember those Hammer Brothers? Well, they're back with a vengeance. Towards the later parts of the game, instead of them running after you wait too long, they'll immediately run after you to the point where you better be equipped with a Super or Fire Flower Mario, since you're pretty much not going to get past them without taking a hit or defeating them from afar with a Fire Flower. And that's not the only problem with the game. No! The level design is so random and sporadic. It's not impossible by any means, but it requires a lot of memorization. But even then, it's still frustrating. Because the controls are stiff, like in the first game, it's very easy to undershoot a jump and fall to your death in the bottomless pit, which by the way are everywhere, especially that stupid spring in World 4-1. Not to mention when falling and trying to land on a platform below below a ceiling would make me fall to my death even though I was holding right or left depending on the situation. And again, several of these levels even require you to either hit the right hidden block or go through the right pipe to finish it. If you're to do the infinite one-up trick, I think you're justified in doing so in this game. I do like the addition of the poison mushroom as it adds kind of a trollish obstacle similar to that of a mimic in most RPGs. It even appears in later Mario games like the bonus levels in Super Mario 3D Land. It'll take one hit point away from you if you touch it, so be careful. And as for enemies, there aren't really anything new with a few exceptions. Remember the bloopers from the first game that were underwater? Now they're on land floating in the air. Remember those piranha plants that came out of the pipes but didn't come out when you were right next to the pipe or on top of it? Well, the red ones are fast and only don't come out when you're on top of the pipes, but if you're next to the pipe, they'll still come out. And like I said with the Hammer Brothers, now there's ones that run after you immediately. The enemies are everywhere, even the worst possible places, the castle levels especially. Level 8-4 is probably the worst offender of all this game's issues, and keep in mind, I have beaten this game several times in the past. But in 8-4, there's even a sequence where you have to go through a set of paths in a certain order to not get trapped in an infinite loop. But it's so random every time where sometimes it'll work but sometimes not work. It's just so frustrating. And if you want to unlock the bonus worlds, you have to beat this game 8 more times. And all of those reasons are why I am not a fan of this game. As a sequel and follow-up to Super Mario Bros. 1, other than minor additions to graphical detail and a more forgiving infinite continue system that lets you start off at the beginning of the world you died in, there is nothing that this game does better than its predecessor. It even has the same exact music. It feels more like an expansion and less like a sequel, and I'm all for expansions if they're sold as expansions, but they still charge $1 more than the original game for the 3DS eShop as if it's an entirely new game, when honestly, I think this game shouldn't be worth more than $2. It's more of the same but much less at the same time. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone except the most hardcore fans of the first Super Mario Bros. Game. Look, I wanted to like this game as a huge Mario fan, but even with level memorization, I had more frustration than fun with it. I do think that Nintendo of America could have sold this game for a discount price for hardcore Super Mario Bros. Fans, but I am glad we got the more progressive sequel being Super Mario Doki Doki Panic. The story is exactly the same too, I know that's a given, but with later installments, Bowser at least has different circumstances as to how he kidnapped the princess. Sure, this game had like a year-long development cycle, but if they had more time to craft a challenging and non-frustrating experience with some more originality to it, it could have been fun and really good. I get that it has fans and they already made up their minds, but for those who never played this game before, skip this one unless you like the first game that much. It has its fans and they're welcome to enjoy it unironically, but just don't make me play it. I'd give it my rating of a 46 out of 100.
And I can already see the comments in the comments section below being like, SideQuest Gamer, you're just a filthy youngster from the new generation who aren't real gamers. Back in my day, video games were supposed to be hard, so therefore they're immune from any criticism. You youngsters should respect your elders and your elders' video games.
Yeah, you keep talking, because I bet you wouldn't survive Dark Souls or the new Ninja Gaiden games without dismissing them as just bad modern video games. They're not as good as the retro games. Seriously. As for your attempts to invalidate the points I brought up, check and mate. I mean, there are NES games out there that are hard for the right reasons, like the first two Contra games and the first two Ninja Gaiden games. Those are very fun games, even though they're very challenging video games. And I even praise them, and like Super C and Ninja Gaiden 2 are like some of my favorite NES games. So it's not like I don't want a hard game. I just want a game that's challenging, but challenging for the right reasons. No game should be hard for arbitrary reasons. Now, there are much worse games out there, but there are most definitely much better games out there. It's probably one of my least favorite Nintendo-developed games, and with the exception of the reviews I'll eventually do for Super Mario All-Stars and Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, I have no desire to pick up this game ever again. Never again. 99 reviews, over 1,000 hours of scripting and editing, over 700 subscribers. This calls for a special top 20 list because I haven't done one of those yet. Before we move on to the 100th review, I'm going to list my top 20 favorite video games of all time as of writing. Thank you all so much for watching, and don't worry, this marathon will continue soon. I just need a little break from it, and as always, remember to stay awesome.